Hey, what's up you guys, it's Dorothy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to go into chapter 5 of One of Us is Back by Karen and McManus, so let's get right into this video. This video may contain sensitive topics and foul language. If you do not wish to continue, I suggest you click off the video now. You have been warned. What are you doing, boy? Phoebe, Wednesday, July 1st. There are so many things you can worry about at once, and right now, 4 hours into my shift at Cafe Contigo, I've hit my limit. If you don't like ground beef or garlic or onions or olives, then maybe you don't actually want an empanada. I tell the woman sitting at my corner table, maybe what you really want is a lump of dough. Unfortunately, we don't serve those. The customer blinks in shock, as she should, because wow, that was rude. I open my mouth to apologize, but my throat is thick and I can't think of anything to say except sorry, but you know, the old saying about the last straw, that's you. Before the woman could call over a manager, though, Evie swoops in beside me, her pad and pen in hand. Phoebe, you're overdue for your break, she says in a cheery voice. Her smile is as bright as her voice, but her hands are firm as she guides me away from the table, just as Mrs. Santos glances up from the cash register. Why don't you take a seat and I'll finish up here? Okay, I said stiffly. Then belatedly, I add thanks, but Evie's already bending over the woman's shoulder, pointing out alternatives on the menu, none of which probably are a lump of dough. Adding the snotty little suggestion to all the times I've been late this month might be the last straw for Mrs. Santos, and nobody would blame her. I can feel my boss's eyes on me as I debate my next steps. All I want to do is hide in the kitchen for a few minutes of peace and quiet, but my brother is sitting at a corner table with the remnants of his dinner. Owen's by himself like always, hunched over his phone, his black backpack at his feet, and his 2 long strawberry blonde hair hanging in his eyes. Family means everything to Mrs. Santos, and if I sulk past my lonely little brother without a word, she's going to think even less of me than she already does. I paste on a smile and slide into the chair across from him. How was your dinner? Fine, Owen says without looking up. Mom got him a fake AirPods for his birthday, and he has one of them tucked into his ear. Didn't feel like being at home tonight? I asked, trying to match Evie's cheerful tone. Owen usually gets takeout the nights that Mom and I are both working. She has a day job as an office manager and sometimes works nights and weekends on her wedding coordinator business. That slowed down a lot after the disaster of Ashton and Eli's rehearsal dinner, but it's finally started to pick back up. Owen shrugs, and the silence stretches between us until I try again. What are you doing? Watching TikTok? Anything good? My brother finally glances up, and my heart skips at the trace of animation on his face. He changed so much so quickly that it's like an unexpected gift to catch a glimpse of his old self, the sweet, earnest boy who could talk for hours about rewiring a toaster. Then he says, this guy posted a video about how his girlfriend died in this freak fishing accident. He said she got dragged underwater by a giant carp and drowned, but it turns out she's not actually dead. He made the whole thing up. She didn't even know till she saw the video. And just like that, former Owen is gone. Why would he do that, I ask? To get views? Owen says, like it should be obvious. And it worked. It's his most popular video by like 1 million. He lets out a little cackle that makes my skin crawl. That's not funny, I say testily. Owen shrugs and swipes at his phone. I think it is. I bite my lip to keep from asking, what's wrong with you? I know how Maeve would reply, or Knox, or my mom, or pretty much anyone who's observed Owen's recent transformation. He's 13. Which is true, but it's also true that Owen kept a deadly game going that ultimately killed my ex-boyfriend. Snickering about somebody faking a death doesn't seem nearly as harmless against that backdrop. But Owen and I can't talk about that because he doesn't know that I know. Back in April and May, when it was a touch and go whether Emma might get into legal trouble, part of me hoped he might confess, that his conscience wouldn't let her take the fall for him, that he'd at least confide in his family, even if he couldn't bring himself to tell the police. But he never did. Even though Emma ultimately wasn't charged, it's not like she wasn't punished in other ways. The merit aid she'd been counting on for college disappeared. She lost all her tutoring jobs, and a small but local contingent around Bayview made it clear they felt she'd gotten away with murder. It's why she moved across the country to my aunt's for at least the summer, and possibly a lot longer. My smart, studious sister, who spent half her life planning for college, is suddenly staring at an empty, uncertain future. Meanwhile, Owen's acting like nothing happened. Did you see this? He asked abruptly, holding out his phone. I take it apprehensively. I really don't want to watch a toxic video, but it's just somebody's Instagram picture of the billboard on Clarendon. Time for a new game debut. Yeah, I've seen it, I say. There's a second part, he says, swiping at what I now realize is a carousel post. The next image is of the same billboard, but this time it reads, there's only one rule. Whoever posted the picture wrote beneath, here's my guess. The only rule is there are no rules. Mwahahaha, skull emoji. The knots that have taken up permanent residence in my stomach get tighter as Owen says, weird ad, huh? Like, what are they even selling? I search his face, trying to decipher his blank expression and tone. Do the words bother him because they remind him of the Truth or Dare game that got Brandon killed? Do they scare him? Does he think they're funny? Did he write them? No. That's ridiculous. My brother might be a technology whiz, but even he can't hotwire a billboard. Probably. Then again, the words aren't only on a billboard. Have you seen the flyers, I ask, but Owen's eyes are already back on his phone. A few seconds later, he snorts out a short laugh. I clear my throat and add, did you hear me? I'm watching skateboarding videos now, he says. This one guy took a header off a rail and he's covered in blood. Stop watching that crap. It's dripping into your eyes. Oh man, he looks dead. Owen chortles and does it. And that does it. My temper spikes, and before I realize what I'm doing, I'm grabbing the phone from his hand. That's not funny, I growl, yanking out his earbud. Ow, Owen winces as he grabs his ear. What's your problem? You, Owen. You were my fucking problem. Oh God, as soon as the words leave my mouth, I realize how loud they are and how easily they've carried through the small restaurant. Owen's mouth drops open while the entire room stares at us, and my cheeks burn as Miss Santos glides over from the cash register. Phoebe, why don't you take off the rest of the night? She asks. You've been here so long already. Evie can handle your tables. I feel an irrational stab of annoyance at Evie then for being so goddamn efficient at everything that she makes me look even worse. I'm fine. I don't need to leave. I start, but Miss Santos quickly cuts me off. Yes, you do, she says. The rest of the sentence, or you're not coming back, is unspoken but heavily implied. Okay, I sigh. I can barely look at Owen, who's fiddling with his earbud, but I force myself to ask, do you want to ride home, or I'll walk, he says. I'm going to stay here for a while. Miss Santos pats his shoulder. I'll bring you some alfajores, she says, before heading into the kitchen. If the customer who wanted an ingredient-free empanada hadn't already been the last straw, this would be it. Being tossed out of my home away from home while my brother, the potential budding sociopath, gets a plate full of cookies. Maybe that's my life now, a series of never-ending last straws. I get up from the table without another word and sulk into the kitchen to get my stuff. Everyone's too busy to talk to me, or maybe they've already heard that I lost it in the dining room and are giving me space, which is a concept I've hated ever since Emma did it to me after our father died. I don't understand how you can look at someone who's obviously hurting and think, you know what this person needs? More time in their own head. I'm almost at the door when someone calls my name. I turn to see Manny, Louise's older brother, holding a brown paper bag. Hey, could you take this? It's for Mrs. Clay. Of course, I say. Cafe Contigo doesn't normally deliver, but the Santos family has been making an exception for Cooper's grandmother since her knee surgery. I volunteer whenever she orders while I'm working because Miss Clay, who keeps telling me to call her Noni, is awesome. Plus, hanging out with her has the added benefit of making me less starstruck around Cooper. It's hard to be intimidated by someone once you've seen their baby pictures. Great, thanks. She loves you, Manny says, which lifts my spirits a little. I step outside and blink at where my car should be, right out front, before remembering how crowded it was when I got here. I had to park a good 5 minutes away at the edge of the sloping side alley. I take out my keys as I approach, frowning at the pavement because I don't remember it being quite that sloping, and oh God, it's not the street that's so uneven, it's my car. The rear driver's side tire is flat. God damn it, I hiss, kicking the tire much too hard. Not another last straw. Then I hobble on one foot, pain radiating through my toe, before carefully placing Mrs. Clay's food on the ground so I can dig through my bag for my phone. I need to call Cafe Contigo to let them know that someone else will have to deliver Mrs. Clay's dinner, and then AAA. But once I have my phone out, I hesitate, overcome with a sudden urge to call Knox. The last time a tire went flat on the accident Corolla I used to share with Emma, he changed it so slowly and painstakingly that I've gotten impatient at the time, but now it's one of my favorite memories of him, one of those hidden sides I kept discovering back then. It wasn't even 4 months ago, but it feels so much longer. If I called, I know Knox would leave until proven, without a second thought, but I shouldn't, right? We've hung out a few times since he kicked me out of his bed, and I'm doing my best to follow his lead and act like everything's normal. The problem is, I'm not sure what the word means anymore when it comes to me and Knox. You okay there? I glance up, still favoring my sore foot, and nearly fall over. Jake Wardian is standing on the sidewalk beside my car, dressed in a crisp blue t-shirt and jeans, like he's some kind of regular person and not the monster who's been haunting my friend's nightmares. I can feel my jaw drop unhinged, really, and my throat works convulsively without managing to push out any words. Looks like you've got a flat tire there, Jake says amiably. There's a woman behind him, middle-aged and well-dressed in a stylish floral sheath with the same blue eyes and chestnut brown hair as Jake. You need help changing it? I'm frozen in place, still unable to speak. The woman glances nervously at me and touches Jake's arm. Sweetheart, she probably has someone coming. I don't. I blurt the words without thinking, and before I can take them back, Jake flashes an easy grin. You have a spare in there? He asks. I glance at Mrs. Clay's food getting cold on the ground, and somehow instead of telling Jake no, I find myself opening my trunk. I got it, Jake says as I fumble with the latch on the trunk floor. I back away, giving him a lot more space than he needs as he hauls out the tire and jack. He kneels beside my car with practiced ease, quick and confident as Knox was slow and cautious. A few minutes later of silence, I glance at Miss Rordian, who gives me a tentative smile. I suppose it would be polite to say something to her or to him, but what? How did I even let this happen, and why is he here? Aren't there rules about him prowling the streets just a few blocks away from where Addie works? I glance at his ankle and catch a flash of black plastic. At least he's being monitored, but downtown Bayview feels like an overly generous geographic area. Phoebe, right? Jake asks, popping the old tire from the rim. Huh? I'm so startled to hear my name that I take another step back. His head is still down, so maybe he didn't notice. Not that I care, because so what if Jake Rordian thinks I'm rude? Or that I'm afraid of him. I'm not, or at least I'm not while his mother is standing right there. You're Phoebe Lawton, right? He says, grunting a little as he positions the spare tire. I remember you from Bayview High. No, you don't. I think you remember me from whatever news program you watched in prison. Jared Jackson's bomb attempt didn't make quite as many headlines as Simon's death, but it was close. All I managed to say, though, is, yeah, nice to see you again, Jake says. And come on, how am I supposed to respond to that? Can't say the same, but thanks for the roadside assist. At least he's practically done already. And nope, not practically, he's done. He heaves my flat tire into the trunk, places the jack and other tools beside it, and closes the trunk. Well, that was fast, his mother says, sounding relieved. Meanwhile, I still haven't thanked him. Somehow, I can't bring myself to utter those words to Jake Rordian. This entire surreal scenario feels like a betrayal of Addie. The least I can do is not express appreciation for the guy who tried to choke the life out of her, and oh God, they're both staring at me now, and I need them to leave. Say something, Phoebe, anything. I should really learn how to change a tire, I manage. Jake stands there with his hands on his hips, eyes glinting as he holds my gaze for a few beats too long. I can't help it. I back up another step, then he smiles again, more wolfish than charming this time, and says, it's easy, Phoebe. All you need is practice. That is the end of this chapter. I will see you guys in the next video.